Welcome to the show. Thank you guys for hanging out with me and Benjamin W. Morse here. You guys are watching Explain Yourself. This is a show where we talk to creators and ask them to explain themselves. This week we have Band of Bards on the show. We're going to bring them in here after a second and talk a little bit about the co-op restructure of the business. We're going to do that right after this message. Thank you for hanging out with us. Welcome, Chris and Brent, to the show. Chris, please, you were about to say something.
Oh, I was just gonna say hi.
How's it going? How you doing, Brent? How's it going?
Doing good.
So, okay, we saw that little video and told us a little bit about a co-op and a little bit of restructuring and kind of some new things that are coming. Please, before we get into it, tell us a little bit about what a co-op is and what does it mean for Band of Bards?
Oh, that's a great question. Hold on, I'm not prepared.
I gave you tons of lead-in time, man.
Oh, this is our lead-in time. I think for us and for Band of Bards, the big important thing about deciding to go this way with a co-op is because not any single person should really be in charge of the decisions that a publisher is making on behalf of so many other creators. And you know, I don't really have a technical explanation for it, but it really is just an idea to level the playing ground a little bit. You know, when you look at like a publisher, whether it's an indie publisher, major publisher, you have like a top-down entity that is one person in charge of multiple people under them. And really it is with the co-op, it gives us the opportunity to bring more people in to become equal, you know, co-owners of the actual publisher. And along with that, it's a share of profits, the opportunity for in the future for different things like from what I'm beginning to understand, like health insurance and other types of benefits that we'd be able to probably provide. And I think the major goal is, yes, is there only 6 of us right now? Sure, but we're looking to open it up to more people and hopefully have different levels of ownership down to creators eventually, to kind of let everybody come in and operate as operate under it as a owner if they want the opportunity to do that. And I'm rambling.
Yeah.
So I
couldn't have put it much better unless you want me to take a stab at some.
I mean, go for it.
Unless if you're down for that, Joey.
I just want to hear your voice.
Please, Brent.
Hear my dulcet tones. Yes. Well, essentially, let me boil it down to the brass tacks. Like a workers' cooperative is a business entity owned and democratically governed by its employees, where every worker has an equal stake in not only the profit but the strategic direction, usually predicated by like votes. Like if you're a member, worker owner, you have a vote into what that direction is, and that includes bringing more people on board. Now, ideally, this promotes a few things. Workplace equality, which is where, I mean, that's big for me as the chief diversity officer. Decreases wage disparity because everyone kind of knows, and it's not only is it a level playing field, it's a transparent playing field because it's the only way you can, by definition, operate. It aligns the interests of the workers with the financial success of the business. You know, when you have like a white collar job or whatever, and it was like a rising tide lifts all boats. Well, that's literally what it means with the workers' cooperative. Like you can have a platitude, but this is actually literally what happens. And in the context of comic books, it's run by it's a publishing company essentially run by the artists, writers, letterers, colors, or staff who create the actual comics themselves. And everyone, again, has an equal say in how those books are made. It keeps things fair, it keeps things equitable, and ensures that the people who make the comics benefit directly from that success, which I think, I hate being trite, but we have two threats right now. We have glut in the market, and either from people who are trying to do it on their own, or they're trying to do it the old conventional way of making pitches, and they're met with gatekeeping, they're met with not being paid on time, and they're not giving, I think, contracts maybe that are always ostensibly fair. I think we just had a discourse about media rights recently, and the fact that that had to be a discourse at all shows that there's also education as a factor. So we're here to actually help teach as well. We're not going to like obfuscate anything. So even if you're not a worker owner, if you come to us and you ask for help and you work with us, that's a path to becoming a worker owner, but you still benefit from us telling you, no, that's a raw deal, or that's a better printer price if you go here, that kind of a thing. So there's layers of it that go beyond just becoming a worker owner. And that's not exactly an elevator pitch, but I think I did pretty good for like 2 minutes.
That sounds really good. I'm here for it. It's better than I could explain it, and I've been working on it for the last 6 months. Yeah. So,
Ben, what are your thoughts? I'm curious to know your thoughts, Ben.
Well, that's really cool to hear. I mean, if you look at just this from a creator's perspective, dealing with publishers, I've been really lucky working with Red 5. It's been a really good working relationship. I know a lot of people that have had some not so good things in terms of contracts, but also mainly in terms of communication. I think that's a huge thing. And I look at, if you're a creator kind of coming into this and you want to get your book in stores, to me, it almost is a no-brainer just to go with. I think there's kind of a hierarchy of maybe tiers of smaller publishers that people get a little hung up on. And I'm like, as long as they can get you into stores and they're great to work with, that to me is the only, really metric to look at. Because communication is just so important. And if you're a creator and you're sitting around by yourself, it can be really, really irritating to just be sending out emails and not hearing anything back for a week or two. And I think that when you get a team of people that are all there to kind of handle that stuff, it'll cut down on that. The other thing that really is great about what you were saying is the stuff about printers or questions, just things that are really basic. If you've been around a while and you have a good sort of 30,000 view feed of what it takes to print things, what it takes to get things in stores, advice of that sort, that as small time creators, a lot of us are reinventing the wheel every single time on every single issue.
Time.
Yeah. So that's a really good thing to just have to kind of, if you're a creator, kind of looking like, I've got a cool book, it did okay on Kickstarter or something like that, or one pitch has been out there, that seems like a really good deal. Just in terms of the knowledge base you can kind of get from working with guys like you.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think there's I think this move helps us kind of solidify that we're also not, we're not an IP farm. We're not collecting creator owned stuff to put out and, own those IP rights. It very much is, if you come to us with a creator owned project, it's your project and you own it. Right. Like we're there to help you facilitate getting it to the masses as best that we can.
That's a valid point we should bring up too. Visually, if you want to look at it structurally too, from like a layout standpoint, Bards is in the middle. That's like the middle of a wheel, and then there's spokes, and each individual spoke. It's an infinite wheel, by the way, but is probably somebody coming in as a worker owner, because a lot of those that might be interested have their own label or idea or trajectory of what they want to do. Not always, but the best example too is what we have right now. Dauntless came in to help formulate this, and as Marcus likes to say, is the CEO, president of Dauntless Stories. We're kind of like the sky. We want to be like the Skybound. We want to be the A24 to the Bard. Not only the Bard brand, but this co-op structure. Someone else might come in and have that ambition. There's no exclusivity to that at all, but that's how we see ourselves, at least from the jump. Our specialization's crowdfunding. We can give crowdfunding expertise to somebody, once we're done with crowd, we show that there's like a demonstrated interest in a book. Maybe Bards can step in. We hand it off. You go to direct market with it, or we just completely do what we need, because that's where the Bards connection is with Diamond and everything else. And there's layers of it as well that kind of make it useful.
There's kind of a Jonathan Hickman infographic building itself in my mind as you start to
A
describe
little bit. Yeah. And so
wheels
like
and
you could come in,
spokes and this.
let me give you an example. Let's say you're a studio that really likes you have this idea for an ongoing fantasy epic within an isolated universe,
Yeah.
and you want to do multiple titles within that structure. You can come in, your own brand, your own imprint. It'd be a sub imprint. Maybe it goes through Bards instead of us because you want to go direct markets. You have a complete book ready to go. You have your colorist, you have your colors paid for, you have the artist paid for. They want to use their wisdom to help facilitate that. This is a case in point where they would get that there for you. And if it's a good fit down the road and some money is made on both sides, you can maybe invest some of those resources going forward into eventually there being a vote and you coming on board as an actual part of the workers cooperative.
Yeah.
But that's another scenario.
Yeah, and these are just scenarios, right? These are just hypotheticals because
Yep.
we haven't been able to go through these different situations yet, and so these are kind of potential ideas that if they were to work out in the the best case scenario, that's how it would work. So so just remember we use terms like imprints and things of that nature. Those may not be
Yeah,
in
not for-
in the structure of what this is, but it could potentially be something that is looked at in a different way. Okay, so all of that said, all right, so how is that good for like the average creator that is like looking to come on and looking to submit some of their work? Like, what does it mean for me?
That's a great question.
Like, I've got a comic book and I got it. And let's say it's completely finished and I bring it and I submit it to you guys.
Chris, you go first because you've been at it longer, and also you have a different tack to it than what Dauntless would do.
I think in the case with us and this recent formation, as new as it is, to be fair to like what Tim and I did starting out, it was just the two of us, and it's been just the two of us for like 3 years. Last year, our first actual full year in the direct market was trials, tribulations, and like almost drowning, right? Like top of the head and underwater. We realized we needed more people, and we needed like-minded people, and we needed to kind of try to find a way to expand this because you get to the point where you can only do so much. And I'm already a terrible communicator, so like, falling behind on contacting people and having conversations and just the sheer amount of work that it takes. We also noticed that there was a ceiling that we were hitting, especially in the veins of marketing. So how does it help you if you bring your story to Band of Bards? It really is, now there's 6 people working on making your story and your project a success in the direct market, right? With all of us, the majority of us have a number of experiences in marketing, and that's a big expansion that we're working at this year to provide better marketing and have a team directly for that. And we're just trying to make vast improvements to our process right now to really kind of lift that up. I don't know if that answered the question.
Yeah,
No,
totally.
I think it did.
Yeah, no, totally. So you said marketing, right? One of the biggest things that I see a lot like in social media where creators are talking about different, independent publishers that they really love and they really like to work with, and it all kind of boils down to having a really solid marketing structure and an actual plan. And
I think it's important. Yeah. The whole comic market isn't what it was in the 90s, right? You could walk into a supermarket and grab X-Men off of the shelf. Or they had a spinner rack at my tops markets. Don't get me started on that. But anyway, like, it's shops now in specialty, and we've got to find a way to grow that, I guess. In this particular situation, I'm trailing off and I lost where my train of thought was going. But regardless, I don't, where was I?
marketing.
Marketing, yeah.
We need
having
more
an
than
actual marketing plan.
2 people doing it,
Yeah, and we're developing a plan right now to kind of broaden it. But again, like, I think where the rubber meets the road, and more to Joey's point, I think people get caught up in a little bit of FOMO, a little bit of fear, a little bit of uncertainty about, did I just miss something? Like,
Yeah.
what do I have to give some pound of flesh to get in now that it's no. What we are setting the stage for what is hopefully a realm of opportunity. There is no downside to what we're trying to do here. We're trying to help literally everyone. Now, can we absorb everyone? Probably not, but like, this is designed to accommodate as many people as we can bring to bear. It's a workers consortium. So it's meant to accommodate new blood. And moreover, the ideal moment right now, as we get our feet wet, is not to bring people in immediately, because that's not to kind of like hold a vote tomorrow and see how many people we can cram in the car. We want people to come forward and say, I have this idea, I have this pitch, I have this story that I want to make. And our number one mandate is to help them make that story. And Dauntless brings something to the table as the initial element of the cooperative through crowdfunding. Like, we could help you get it on Zoop, we could help you get it on Kickstarter, BackerKit, whatever. And Joey actually has a lot of experience in that space as well, and we could help facilitate, as part of a limited partnership of like helping them get them set up for a fee or whatever, or some kind of revenue sharing. But at the end of the day, we're just helping them get their actualization happening. We get a feel for each other, and maybe we do more going forward. And on top of that, in terms of maybe book production, we have discounts at printers in various places. And we have a pick of the litter in terms of how we want to do it. Do you want slightly better paper quality at this kind of discount, or do you want a better turnaround time? Do you need warehousing? We have a relationship with that printer already in the can. And like what Ben just said, you don't have to relearn this stuff. We will not only do it with you, we will teach you so that you can do it yourself if you're still inclined. We're not going to like gatekeep this wisdom, but we're hoping that as we build these relationships, this is what the cooperative is.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe you do want to be a part of it, and you help out the next guy.
Yeah.
And then we build this revenue sharing element together where everyone gets a little bit of the pie as we keep growing.
And I feel like every single person that you guys kind of brought on has their own area of expertise that they've kind of mastered, and they've shown numbers, right? Because numbers can't lie when you put these things into perspective. And I think I feel like every single person kind of hits everything right there on the head with that. Like with that said, with the whole opportunities of giving these different people these different areas of expertise, how do you guys see that this is going forward? How it's going to benefit the process of the way things are right now for what they could be in the future?
Humble brag, and I don't mean to brag, but I'm pretty sure we're the first actual registered co-op publisher, comic publisher anyway. And I think when Tim and I set out 3 years ago to do this, and big ideas and very little money, but big ideas, we're trying to find something that this industry hasn't done, right? And if we can inspire somebody else to do that, I think that it's a win. It's a big experiment, right? And I kind of have always said, Band of Bards is this experiment where we got started and we had a focus and we had a mission and an idea. And how is it that you enact that and make that happen? And I think 6 months, 7 months ago, when we really got into having this conversation, saying this isn't the Tim and Chris show. This is comics, and this is a community show. And we've been lucky enough to work with great people and forge these relationships with like Brent and Marcus and Joey and Megan. And it's been a humbling experience, especially to go to somebody like Brent or Marcus and say, hey, what do you think of this idea? Do you want to jump in and make some waves and maybe inspire more people to do the same? And honestly, being in a co-op is sharing the work and working to your strong suit. My strong suit is not financials, and my strong suit is being a creative and hiding. So that's what I do.
Well, I think what's really cool, if you look at what you're describing, and without naming other publishers or details,
Mhm.
a lot of smaller publishers in the last, there's been disruptions due to COVID that I think have affected a lot of things that maybe wouldn't have happened otherwise. But you see a lot of smaller places, and I see this kind of from the creative end, and other creators talking about, oh yeah, I was talking with them, and then they kind of went away. It's a lot of work, and I think people get burned out after a couple of years or a few bad breaks in the market or something like that.
Yeah.
I think what you've set up is a pretty smart way to look at this and say, hey, this is a lot of work. Things are always changing. Um, we need something that can kind of scale with the changes, and scale with, as we learn things and do things better, we're going to be able to offer this to more people. We're going to make kind of discover new things that work, that we can bring in new people. I think you kind of set up something that lets you keep going and scale really well, and takes advantage of all the good things that come with that. And
Yeah,
hopefully,
it's about
obviously
sharing the
avoid burnout.
victories, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
if we do good and Band of Bards becomes a thing, right? Like a real thing, like it's a thing now, but like a real thing, like something that everyone's talking about, then it's a success. And why would you stop from anybody who wants to participate in that, to within reason, to our expansion of what we can allow to happen? But that opportunity should exist out there, right? Like, it's a community. Comics is a community. So with us, I hope there also comes like inspiration for others to consider it and think about it.
Okay, so what's next for Band of Bards? What's on the chopping block?
Book market. I think that's the next big thing. Like, direct market's good in comics, but you can't exist strictly in the direct market. Like, you've got to go bigger. So it's solidifying our foothold, and getting into that, getting trades into the book market and seeing how that goes. Really growing digital. I think that it's always like the last year working at building up direct market, digital has always been kind of like at the back of my head. Like, I've got to focus on this. I've got to build books, and then I'll put them on Global Comics, or I'll put them on Drive Through Comics, or they'll get out there. But manpower wise, we haven't had the ability to really like dig in and push it, right? So growing digital and all that stuff is goals for the next year or so, and hopefully expanding co-op ownership by the end of the year and adding some additional people on.
And what about Dauntless?
Yeah.
Sorry, speaking for all of us, and then to Marcus and I. I think that we basically threw our doors open and said, "Hey, who wants to work with us on Twitter or X, whatever?" And we got some pitches and portfolios, and that was kind of the spirit of the thing. We have a fairly robust 2024 ambitions. We're going to have like an OGNs and stuff in the Deadly Verse, and I think if I had to pick like a highlight, it would probably be the Deadly Verse stuff, and also the Valorverse launch, the special with Kara, who said, and getting that going in the fall, because that's the embodiment, in my opinion, of what at least Dauntless interprets the vision is, because you don't get more bold than helping somebody actualize a brand new universe of capes. So yeah, and operationally, we'll always be the crowdfunding people, I think, until that the broader cooperative, and as Chris puts it, gets into broader avenues like the book market and stuff. Because our specialty has always been crowdfunding stuff, and we want to be like a multi-spectrum approach. I think you and I spoke, Joey, about. I mean, I'll say it out loud. I hang my hat on Kickstarter. That's where prospective growth is. But a full spectrum run. Like, if somebody believes strongly in using an alternative method, we'll help them with that too. But we have that, a few other independent projects we're examining right now, that I can't talk about. Actually, never thought I'd be that person, but at least not yet. But yeah, we are helping somebody actualize their story that they inherently got. It just didn't work out. It just didn't work out, whatever the original intent was, through conventional channels. And I wouldn't say we're unconventional, but yeah, we in a way we are. So they want to try it with us, I think. So you'll hear more about that later. But we're just basically here to help people push out their stories, anyway, through crowdfunding and through independent endeavors.
And with the books too, it really is the comics and it's the stories and it's the books that we're focusing on. If other stuff comes with it, then other stuff comes with it. But the primary focus has always been with Band of Bards, the creators in the books and being good stewards. While we have the rights to use
the word,
right? They're not ours. So we just do the best to lift it up and help that individual creator grow. And, for the time that we're allowed to have them and maybe we do a good enough job and they let us, keep being the steward of that story, which,
this is a low hanging fruit in a way. We don't want to plant the flag. And I know you would agree. And I know Marcus would agree and probably Tim, as Megan too. I would like us to have a giant table somewhere at a decent sized con that just has everyone's books, everyone, right?
Yeah.
Within the current inventory rotation, just a modest quantity. We're not going to kill ourselves or anything, but like, just this is what we stand for, and we just let the books do the talking. And behind every single one of those facades is a human being, and they might not be able to be there, but we're there for them. And that would be, and that the minute that moment happens, that's when I know I think we've succeeded, and then we have more to do. But that would be my goal.
Well, and that sounds like a really great thing from a creator perspective. I'm just now starting to look at getting into going cons because I've got to sell back issues of August and stuff like that, and it's a little daunting just to look at the cost and the setup and all that stuff starting out. But that's again a situation where, as a creator, it's great to have people that have done it before. And I think especially if you have a situation where you have people all over the country, like a lot of people just can't go that far out of state or.
No, I'm in Ohio, man. Do the math.
Oh, really? What part?
Columbus.
Okay, I'm from Cincinnati.
Hey, yeah, you know exactly what I'm talking about. At least you have Cincinnati. I mean, GalaxyCon's not terrible, but like literally all we got is Cincy, and then there's like C2E2, and then you're hopping on a plane or you're driving south or something.
And with a bunch of back issues and stock, obviously there's going to be some shipping involved, but if you've got people, and this is one of the advantages of having a collective and having more creators that are kind of sailing in the same direction as you, is they can do what you described. You can say, hey, yeah, we'll bring your books and sell some of them. And that's somebody that's getting an eye on your stories that at a convention you would not have been able to go to, which is a great thing.
That's 100% what it is. And then moreover, like, give you an example, and this is just a wild example, but like I said before, pre-existing relationships with certain vendors that have warehousing capabilities. Maybe we could bring that to bear with our existing relationships, and then they could be drop shipped either through purchase or through sending it to cons, the hotel at the con, that kind of thing. This is like very high level pie in the sky stuff, but it's all within the scope of that kind of brief.
Well, we all, when we talked about this too, is, part of the whole expansion idea of Band of Bards is to start bringing stuff in house too, and building out that, once we get to that point, like not so much an office, but a print shop or, something else where we can also contribute to the community that way. Like there's great printers out there, don't get me wrong, but it would be amazing if we had the space to do it ourselves. And that's kind of like, a high-end, like top-down type of thought and discussion. To go back to the con thing, my favorite thing that I've learned that has taken me a lot of practice to do, especially when you're doing creator-owned books like we do, is I read everything, obviously, especially we make a decision to bring a book on, but it's remembering it when you get to the con. And you have to have an elevator pitch for each individual book and each individual story. And I don't know if people understand, like, that's a lot for, a neurodivergent person like myself, but like just an old person like myself, which is, I loved reading this book, but like, I can't remember the characters' names at this moment in time that this one random person is asking me about them. The sheer panic on my face. If I could live stream it, I would.
Well, a lot of creators have trouble doing that for their own books, so I can imagine how hard it is doing it and different books that we didn't create.
And then remembering to like say the same thing over and over again. You always change. There's always different variations of it when you're like live standing there doing it.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I like that one better. But fantastic. Okay, we have just a couple minutes before we got to go. Before we go, I want to ask each of you, what. So I heard Brent say that they open the doors. So are the doors open? Are people want to know if we Band of Bards Dauntless is opening the doors to submissions?
I don't think we ever closed it, but we don't tip it like Band of Bards. We haven't really advertised it, but yeah, submissions are open. I think we'll probably put something out there in the coming weeks just to really build it up, and I have to do some website updates and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, we take submissions all the time, and I apologize in advance. Previously, like I said, getting back to people has been the bane of my absolute existence, but I've got process, so I'll be doing much better at that going forward. I have to as publisher, I guess.
Brent, how about Dauntless? You said that they were open. Are they officially open?
Yeah, and we've been getting them. I reply to every single one, saying that to confirm reception. But in the interest of full transparency, I've built out a Google Drive. I sort them by role, by ask, by what it is, and I call it building our digital Rolodex, because we do have a full dance card supposedly for the year. But if the right thing comes along, you never know. But I want to make sure everyone's heard, everyone's seen, and we review every single one. And if there's a fit either in the immediate realm or down the line, we'll reach out. But I always make sure that every single person knows that we got it. And that's the best thing we can promise. But I think that's better than some get, at least until we get bigger and can't handle it.
Fantastic. All right. So okay, one last thing before we go. To let's give a little bit of advice. Okay, what is your guys' advice for brand new creator looking to to put their work out there?
Do you want to go first? Or me go first? I'll go first. Patience, have it. Especially when you're dealing with a publisher, like do your research, kind of understand what publishing is, what a publisher's job is. Tim talks about a microcosm book that I don't have in front of me right now all the time. The People's Guide to...
Tim's got so many great books that he wants to tell you guys about. Seriously.
Yeah, he does. You should just have him. He should just have a stream where he talks about all the books that he buys. But there's a lot of good advice out there, and listen to people and just kind of make sure that you have patience. The industry's changing. It's evolving. It's becoming something hopefully different than it's ever been. But there's a lot of change involved in that, and that's the top down. So it's a lot of patience, and it might take a bit to hear back, but just deep breath, and you can do it.
And Brent.
There you go. It's the People's Guide to Publishing: Building a Successful, Sustainable, Meaningful Book Business from the Ground Up by Joe Beal in Microcosm Publishing.
That's it. It's a good book.
It's a good book. But I would echo your sentiment. I think I know that, I don't know about you guys, but the trajectory that I usually see when it comes to getting into it early is you go to the subreddit. I believe there's a subreddit where people come and look for partners to create something. And more often than not, no one really knows. They all have the ambition and the passion, but they may not necessarily know the ins and outs. So I would greatly encourage reaching out to creators and saying, hey, they may say they're too busy. They may say they can't talk right now, but 9 times out of 10, I think I'd be willing to wager an artist or creator, writer, colorist, letterer, anybody would sit you down and just say, well, what do you want to know? Because I think sometimes they aren't appreciated for their wisdom. They're only appreciated for what they make. And I think that's a gross mistake, because every single thing that I've managed to do is because of somebody who knew more lifting me up in a position that's been doing it from like a seasoned veteran. I went to the Gail Simone Comic School. I befriended artists and writers who taught me the ins and outs of what I should and shouldn't do. And then I got a few lumps along the way. But
Hmm.
I really just say reach out, network, make friends, talk to people. And it may not always pan out exactly the right way you want, but 9 times out of 10, everyone's really wants to talk about what they do and share what they've learned, because
Yeah.
we're only going to keep existing because of a new generation coming in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah. I have to agree with that. And I think we all kind of, teach each other. And I think that's one of the best things about this co-op is that it's part of a learning process, and not everyone knows everything about making a comic book, and not every single person's perspective of making a comic book is the same. So why not have this collective of people with different perspectives and different expertise in many different places that they've already mastered come together and create this driving force to barrel down that road where we can do things together and create these amazing things. I feel like this is one of the best moves that I've seen in quite some time. Maybe I'm a little biased, but I do.
A little bit. Small
I
amount
just
of
a little
bias.
bit, but I
We
I
would
do
say
feel
that.
like this is a really really good move. See, I see some of the stuff behind the scenes and the things that happens behind the scenes. You guys are really going to be blown away. There's real
Yeah.
stuff happening behind the
And,
scenes.
and I
Real,
don't mean to interrupt, and I don't mean to fluff you too much, but I'm very happy that you're involved, Joey.
I
I
appreciate
think the addition of Joey to this is incalculable, and the great collective element to it, and all the resources that knowledge he brings to bear, it's a game changer. So I'm glad you're here.
I appreciate it. And listen, I didn't learn all this stuff, I learned it from other people. The same way that just explained. I asked my peers, I asked comic book creators who were willing to teach me these things. Like all the graphic design work that I know, I have to give it up to Dave Lentz. He's a letterer and he does so many different things. I have to give it up to him because he was the one that would sit there and whip me into shape and say, "No, dude, I know you're better than this. That's horrible. That's the worst thing you've done. Do better. I know you can do better." And yeah, like you said, you take some lumps along the way with some of these creators, but they do it out of love. They do it out of wanting to be able to teach you something that you can that can last forever and last your career. And that's exactly what I feel like he's done every step of the way and I still to this day I send him things like, "What do you think, dude? Is this good?" And there was one time where he was like, he's like, who did this? You didn't do this. This is the best thing you've done." So I was like, I'm so that was like the best kind of praise that I can ever get. Somebody, him telling me that this was not me who did it. So, so
Well, yeah,
just
game recognizes game. That's
yeah,
I'm just glad that we all are here. It's going to be a wild ride. But it's going to be a lot of fun.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And thank you guys. Ben, do you have anything before we leave?
Same as always. I've got a over, and you can see this in the comments as well as links to some other campaigns and to Band of Bards. But I have a book up on pre-launch on Kickstarter, which is called "We Are Scarlet Twilight: Cobalt Crisis." It's basically Secret Wars or Crisis on Infinite Earths had it happened in the 1940s. So you've got all that sort of galaxy-shattering, status quo-changing adventure, but also all the kind of pulp retro atmosphere. So if you're into that stuff, or you like the first Scarlet Twilight, head over there and check that out for when we launch.
I didn't know. I didn't connect the dots. It just says Cobalt Crisis. I backed the original.
Oh, thanks.
I absolutely love it. I'm so excited to meet you. This is really cool. No, 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 real quick, it's really cool. I will immediately follow that. Just toss the link out there.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Ben's
Thanks.
amazing. Ben is the other half of Geek Collective. We're doing amazing things with the stuff that we've been doing. We do have a book that's gonna be dropping this on 420. My buddy J. Michael Miller, he's got a book. I know you've Chris did the logo for it. It's called
Yeah.
Puff Parent. It is a story about let me just put it this way. This is my pitch for the book. If Danny Tanner was prescribed marijuana, that's this book. That's all you guys need to know. That's it, and it's got amazing stuff. Got some great covers. Marcus Hernandez is going to do a cover. He's got Max Pinelli doing a cover. We got one where we got one from Lane. We're going to be doing some stuff there too. So check this stuff out. Make sure you guys are doing that. Check out J. Michael Mirror. It's Puff Puff Parent. You got that in the links there for you guys. And as always, follow me at Joey Galvez 1984. Where can they find you, Brent?
I kept my original name at Carol Collector on X, at Carol Collector on Instagram, because I collect Captain Marvel everything, and Ms. Marvel, and I believe you can find me on Danver Zone on Blue Sky.
All right.
Chris, where can they find you?
I'm everywhere. I'm at hi, my name is Topes. Or you can just email me at chris@bandofbards.com.
TOPHS, I
Yeah,
believe.
TOPHS.
Fantastic. And bandofbards.com. Make sure you guys are checking that out. All the amazing stories. Find your story at Band of Bards. Seriously, and check out Dauntless. All kinds of amazing things happening with both places. Keep an eye out, because there's going to be lots of stuff coming. We're going to be telling the Bards all the fun stuff next week, so they're going to start knowing all this really cool stuff that's been happening behind the scenes. And as these things roll out, and as we vote on it, because we are a democracy, we're going to make sure that these things roll out as they need to, with all of our collective minds coming together and making sure that this is a really solid plan. So seriously, you guys are definitely going to want to check everything out that we do. And with that said, please, Benjamin Morse, please, Benjamin Morse, play that outro for me. And we'll see you guys.
Take it easy, everybody. And thanks for
Ben,
coming
it's an
on.
honor. Seriously.
Yeah.